Welcome to the Curry Gumbo Podcast with Nicole and Ashley. And this month, the month of December, we will be reviewing our favorite holiday TV episodes. Stay tuned. Were you a big Boondocks fan?
Yes and no. I was not a very big fan of the comics because I didn't read comics. And when it came out on Adult Swim, I remember being excited because you and I are from where we're not from Georgia, but we
grew up in it. We grew up
in
our formative
Georgia.
years. Yeah, that's the years that matter.
And whenever we would roll past like the Ted Turner campus, I remember seeing like Boondocks coming to Adult Swim, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like that, it's a black cartoon. What? Because I just remember I was never like an anime girl, and I just remember like I think like Robot Chicken and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's very white stuff.
I never was into those cartoons.
Oh, I was so into, like, I am still into them. I didn't watch it as soon as it came out, but like a few years after it was canceled the first time.
Oh yeah.
I went and bought all of the DVDs. I bought all of the DVDs and just became obsessed. And I did not get into season 4 as much.
Oh, I don't even know. Like I've watched episodes, but I can't tell you, like, I didn't follow it like season to season. I guess saw it whenever it was on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first 2 seasons were really good. And the third season,
because they had issues, because wasn't Aaron, he wasn't a part of
I don't think he was a part of the 4th season.
Okay.
Yeah. And if there's a 5th season, I don't know anything about it. But you could tell you can tell there's a change. Just visually it's a different show. But yeah, I really liked the Boondocks. I remember studying it in grad school because I was really interested in Luna, the killer kung fu wolf bitch. I was really interested in that episode. Because the show doesn't really have a lot of black women characters.
No.
So I just became obsessed with the ones that we spent a full episode with. And I found it I of course found it very problematic. It reminds me of like Atlanta in the treatment of like brown skinned women. But yeah. But I mean, it's a cute show.
I remember the comics. And the comics, they were very like one-liners. They weren't, you know, some comics like they're like paragraphs. Mm-hmm. The Boondocks was always like one line that was funny. And I remember one where it's like it's snowing outside and they're at the bus stop. And then like Huey and Riley, they in like winter coats and hats and gloves and scarf. Then they look to the left and it's a white boy in some shorts. And it's just like, and that's pretty much it. It was just like they just looking. And then it's like, but you know the comedy in that.
Yeah.
So I do remember the comics. And I would watch the show whenever I would catch it. I wasn't a big Adult Swim fan at all. I think
the Boondocks brought a lot of black women to Adult Swim.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like I would love to see the numbers. The Boondocks was on Netflix for a while, then it left. I want to say maybe it was on Hulu, but I know right now it's on HBO Max.
It's on HBO, yeah.
And HBO Max is killing the game. Like HBO has Living Single now.
They have all the shows, even to like Jamie Foxx, even
Fresh Prince, Wayans Brothers, I think.
The one with LL Cool J.
In the House? They have In the House.
Yes.
See, HBO is not playing around.
He knows when you've been sleeping. All right. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for what?
So this episode starts. Jasmine is having a dream that she is preaching in church. She's confusing Santa with Jesus, and we see this throughout the episode. Jasmine, Riley, and Huey have 3 different I guess, versions of how they feel about Christmas. Jasmine's excited about Santa. Santa's everything. Santa is her Jesus. She's at the mall waiting in line to see Santa, and Riley's at the mall. Santa comes out. Riley's like, okay, throws a chair, hits Santa up beside his head, and then just start going to work on Santa. So apparently Riley got beef with Santa. And then he says, I guess it's because he's disappointed because he was like, "Oh, where was you at when we was in the hood?"
Where
And
your ass was
so,
at?
would you say Riley is a believer? Because Jasmine is definitely a believer. All this anger, he must be a believer too.
Riley is a believer. I think Riley is completely sold out to capitalism and consumerism. So of course he believes in Santa Claus in the same way that Jasmine believes in him. It's not a shock to me that she is confusing him with Jesus. That's the argument of the show. Our obsession with consumerism has completely exploited this holiday, which started if whatever you believe, Huey believes that like it's a pagan holiday anyway. Like it has nothing necessarily to do with religion. The way Jasmine is so quick to catch on to the cadence of a preacher. Like she sounds just like a preacher. Were it not for her childish voice, you would think that was coming from a silly preacher. But I know that your original question was whether or not Riley believes, and I didn't think I thought of that. But I
I just
think
thought about it now because I'm like, for him to have all this anger and hatred and his letter that he wrote.
Dear Santa, you are a bitch nigga.
He must believe he's just heartbroken.
Jasmine, who's has a lawyer for her father. I forget what Jasmine's mother does. I think she's a stay-at-home mother. But of course she privileges Santa in a way because she probably gets everything that she wants. So to her, Santa is this wonderful provider who she can confuse with a type of savior. But for Riley, someone who comes from a different income situation, Santa is a scam. Santa is like, where are our things? You were supposed to bring me things. People said you were bringing presents. You and that Rudolph motherfucker. So where's our shit?
And also, just to back up, this show is about the two brothers moving to the Boondocks, which is kind of a term people use for like middle of nowhere, I guess suburbs, deep in the
Suburbs, because I think
suburbs.
they're in Maryland.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah,
they're just not
so
in the city. So it's like
yeah,
people, I know growing up, people say, "Oh, you live in the you live in the boonies, or you live in the
yeah,
boondocks," meaning like, "Oh,
hmm
you far, you ain't got no street lights on your street."
yeah. And I mean, we see that with Huey when he's in class. He's the only black person in the classroom.
Yes,
They're learning about Kwanzaa because his teacher is
white man.
a white man who believes in inclusion, but you don't even know how to pronounce the days of Kwanzaa. And
Nope.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't either. I don't know anyone who celebrates Kwanzaa. Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay,
But
like
it's always around.
the way it was presented to me in school,
It
it
was
was
like
like
everybody
people in
does it.
Africa
No, but it's an
celebrate Kwanzaa.
It's an African American holiday. They don't do
That
it in
is why I was
Africa.
very confused. That is why I was very it wasn't until like college where I realized that this was an African this was a holiday invented
By African
In
Americans.
America by
Yeah.
African Americans, and I was like, wait, they don't do this in They said the
No.
people told me that this was from Africa. What is going on?
I don't know who made up these principles. I don't even know what language is it, Swahili, because I mean Africa is a huge continent. There's thousands of languages and like what language is this?
I can imagine the man. I just can't. And I didn't even think to do this part
To
of the
look
research,
at to
but I
reach it
did.
up. I
But
didn't
I can
either.
imagine him, but I don't remember his name. But it's somebody light skinned uncle. that came up with Kwanzaa, and God bless them. Like that's hey, like you do whatever you want, and I am just so it's wonderful, and celebrate it. Do whatever you want to do. But they was wrong. The teachers was wrong. Had me up there believing that everybody in
Oh
all
no,
of
they told you
Africa,
wrong.
the whole continents celebrated Kwanzaa.
I knew it was an American thing, that it was made up, and I was like, okay. I guess they mean well. The kids go to school at J. Edgar Hoover Elementary. That right there, I was like, okay.
We know that Huey is being watched by the government, by the American government. Like we get glimpses of that often. I don't know who Riley is named for, but when I think of Huey, like that's
I think of P.
a
Newton.
black nationalist,
yeah,
named Huey, big afro. Like you immediately think Huey P. Newton, who was also being watched and under surveillance,
and
so
he has the same ideology.
Yeah.
And then Riley is his ratchet brother.
Yes.
So the teacher nominates Huey to direct a Christmas play. Probably because he's the only black kid in the class. And he says that it can be Huey's vision. He's in control of this Christmas play. And at first, Huey, he's like, he don't even believe in Christmas. So they're with going back to the three kids, Jasmine, Riley, and Huey. Jasmine's excited about Christmas, Santa Claus. Riley's upset because Santa owed him some gifts. He feels.
I think Riley feels cheated.
Yeah, he does. That's the word. He feels cheated. Huey's like, ain't no Santa Claus.
Right.
And then he tries to school Grandpa about the real origins of Christmas as a pagan holiday, which is correct. I think this is the first time I learned this or I heard about this was this episode. And then I did my research and I was just like, he's right.
The only reason I knew is because I was obsessed with the origins of Santa Claus, not necessarily Christmas. And so I
Saint
remember
Nicholas
finding like older pictures, older drawings of him, and he was skinny. And so I was like, well, how did he? And I had a friend once who said that the company that is most responsible for the current imaging of Santa Claus is more than likely Coca-Cola. Now I don't know if that is true. Around winter, we always see that white ass Santa with that white ass hair on that can, pre-polar bears. This is all a plot and a scheme that Ty set up to bring us the bullshit. That's all it is. Niggas is just trying to sell candy. Niggas is just trying to sell Easter Sunday
or even
dresses
for Christmas
and shit.
You just
that's
trying
all
to
that's
get
going
gifts on Christmas. Like it ain't got nothing. Listen, when he broke it down, he was like, Jesus could not have been born on the 25th.
Ain't no way.
Like he was probably in Palestinian winters. It don't make sense. The math ain't mathing. He was probably born in the springtime. You ever try to like tell people this information?
I never tried to tell it because I don't know it. I don't know it that
the
well.
Thing
I'm not
is,
very familiar with it.
Whenever people, especially older people, when they will, people who don't agree with Halloween, but they have no problem celebrating Christmas and Easter. I'm like, but it's the same. What's the difference? That's what I'd be like. I'm like, so what's the difference between Halloween, Christmas, and Easter? Because not none of them ain't got nothing to do with religion.
I have a couple of friends who are like, sex before marriage is wrong, but they still fucking,
Then you can't believe that if you do it.
They do, but they do, but they do. Most of the people that I'm close to are like, I do believe in Jesus. He wasn't born on December 25th, but we still gonna celebrate Christmas. and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just I don't think it's something that people really examine. I don't think that it's something that is.
They don't care.
I don't think they care. Because I don't think it's not something that is having a serious impact on them. You know.
The other thing I've heard, and this was like when I used to work in the office, people who were say like the Christmas tree is like represents Christianity, and I'm like, okay, now ain't no Christmas tree in the Bible. Like that ain't got nothing to do, because there's always people at work want to say, oh, you're not representing all religions. I'm like, a tree is not a religion. A tree ain't got nothing to do
Yeah.
with Jesus or Christianity. Like it's
Well,
it's not.
the
The
star.
star, but just the tree. When people have the decorations of like the wreath and the tree and the
Hmm.
presents, that is not a religious
It
artifact. It has
isn't, but
nothing
I
to do with
can see
religion.
why people
Yeah,
feel that it's
they feel
inappropriate to
it,
have it in the
but it's like
workplace.
yes and no, because it's not. It's
Yeah.
not a religion. The tree is not a religion.
Yeah.
But I think it's
But
funny.
I bet
Like,
even those people want to trade presents.
oh, of course. Well, I mean, other religions they do trade. Hanukkah has presents, so I can't say they're being inconsistent with that. But so Huey's play. Oh, Huey got a black Jesus
Yeah.
in his play because Huey said Jesus was born in the Middle East, and the Middle East has a diverse group of people, including Arabs and people from Africa. And so Jesus is black, and he gonna be black in this play.
And does Huey even believe in Jesus?
Hmm. I think he does. He just doesn't. I think he believes in Jesus. I don't think he believes like we said. Jesus was not born in December.
I think that Huey believes that there was a man named Jesus, more than likely not, probably named something else,
Yeah.
who was crucified. I think he believes that. I don't think that Huey believes that there was a man named Jesus who was born to a virgin and is
Oh
the son of
yeah.
God and performed all of these miracles. I don't believe that Huey
Huey
believes
is
that.
more practical.
I really would like to see the Boondocks come back under
Hmm.
the vision of Aaron Magruder, and because I would love to see like kind of the conversation that
That
black
he
people are
wants to
having
have
now
now,
with
because he has
with
some.
African spirituality. Like, because I think
Oh
there's so many
yes.
people who are like, let's talk about these gods. Like, let's talk about, these orishas and things like that. And let's
Yeah.
talk about like the spiritual significance of waist beads and like people really accept Queen Afua. I remember
Yeah.
talking about Queen Afua and people would just be like, child, please, ain't nobody doing that. And then she's on the Breakfast Club now and everybody want a book.
Everybody.
And so
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a thing. Like this. So it would be interesting to see how Aaron Magruder like critiques this this current movement of black spirituality.
I know he have a ton of episodes about Kanye West. The way he was all over R. Kelly back in the day, I think he'd be all over Kanye West.
Ooh. I also think he will be all over Beyonce. And
Yeah.
because you can't have songs saying like I just quit my job and be
And
a
you ain't never worked.
billionaire and be
She
a
ain't never. She
like
ain't never worked.
you
But not
can't say
know.
things like that. Like, so
Yeah.
you can't say things like that without people wanting to have a conversation about it. I love Beyonce.
We
I
all
love her
do.
down, but that is some, or even um to celebrate like black nationalism, to celebrate Black spirituality, but also be a billionaire. And the way, like, there is no clean way to become a billionaire in this country. Somebody is being exploited in order for you to be a millionaire.
True.
Fuck a billionaire.
So this Christmas play, Huey got rid of all the kids. Well, first he was trying to get Angela Bassett and Denzel Washington, and that didn't work.
But how he got Quincy Jones? How?
I don't know. I don't know how Quincy came, but he had a vision. And so the Adventures of Black Jesus is the name of the play, and it's only teachers, no students. And he says they got a standing ovation. The PTA was upset. PTA was mad because their kids wasn't in the show, and Huey was like, I mean, he didn't get it. He was like, I guess they wanted to see their kids in the play. Oh well. And then we see the teacher got fired for being an irresponsible white man, and now he's an African studies professor at the university. So,
at the University of Maryland, where Aaron McGruder graduated from with the degree in Africana studies. And I was like, is that shade? Is that shade? Is there a white man at the University of Maryland who was there when Aaron McGruder was there teaching Africana studies?
I didn't think that, but I do think there are plenty of white teachers teaching Africana studies. I know there are.
Oh, I mean,
and the high school level, college level.
You shout this Black power shit, and when a Black student takes power into his own hands, you're trying to silence him. And I remember, I mean, it was a white teacher, but he said this, like he said, we can study socialism all day. We can study Black nationalism. We can do it. We can study it all day. The minute you begin to do it,
it's a problem.
Is when the schools will have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? And so it was interesting to me that Huey, he was under the assumption that they were going to go back to this white vanilla version of a Christmas play, but the white teacher puts on Huey's play. So that standing ovation that Huey gets, the white professor is the one who's there to kind of take in all that glory, which also felt a little wrong to me. And now you are at this school teaching these white students. I mean, I saw a lot of white students in that classroom.
Yeah.
And then the cycle just continues. Those students are going to go out and get teaching assignments and teach their brand of Africana studies.
A bunch of Rachel Dolezals.
Ciao. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hit us up on Instagram at Curry Gumbo. Hope to see you next week. Bye.